the 56th annual JFK 50 Mile. Give them a nice welcome here at the Williamsport. Overcame the mud, overcame the blood, overcame the snow. 5 hours, 41 minutes, and a couple of seconds unofficial.
Oh man, I just want to like. Yeah, well, probably.
From stories my mom tells me to things I remember, I was always very obsessed with, doing the best I could. I guess I kind of have this idea or this theory that a race is meant to be respected. A race is a race for a reason. We all have our reasons for why we do it, but for me, when the gun goes off, that means I give my best until I cross the finish line. That I go as fast and as hard as I can until I either get to the end or I can't anymore. Because if I get to the line feeling absolutely trashed, I feel like I've given my best. Even in training, I can get in that pain cave and push. So I like getting to that point where it's hard and then pushing harder. It's just part of my character to just always try and do the best that I can.
It's 7 a.m. Saturday morning in the square in Boonesboro. 33 degrees greets the balance of 1,000 plus runners in the 51st JFK Ultramarathon. This is the test for the competitive field, 50.2 miles from Boonesboro to Williamsport. At the start, 15.5 miles on the Appalachian Trail, terrain that would test every runner. At the end of 8.4 miles of asphalt, the lead belonged to a late entrant. Based on his running resume, race promoter Mike Spindler granted him a slot. Zach Miller from Columbia, Pennsylvania, crosses the finish line in 5 hours, 38 minutes, 44 seconds, the third fastest course time in the 51-year history of the JFK.
My running career is something that I didn't really see coming. It was something I dreamt of when I was little. Not necessarily running. I wanted to be a professional soccer player, you know. I basically wanted to be a pro athlete. But you know, that's just a dream. I never knew that it would actually happen. I mean, I went all the way through college, you know, leaving college realizing that there was a pretty big disconnect between what I was doing and what it took to be a professional runner. But sometimes I wonder if those little dreams and things we have when we're young are meant to motivate us to do something we're supposed to do. Because for me, my dream came true. And why it came true is a good question. Does it have to do with what my purpose is? I can't really help but think that yes, it does. There's a million things that I could do in this world, and there are a million different jobs I could hold or tasks I could take on. But I'm not sure that very many of them suit me as well as ultra running. If I look back through my life and all the skills and talents and gifts and characteristics I've had, they seem to fit my life as a runner, as an ultra runner, as a mountain runner so very, very well. The day that changed my life, for me that was JFK. I didn't know it at the time, the impact that it was going to have. I got my job working on the cruise ships in the print industry, and I think for a lot of people that would have been like, oh, there goes running. Like, you're going to live on a cruise ship, there's no way you're going to keep running. But ironically, that's what kind of got me into ultra running, because I didn't like running on the treadmill. So I'd run on the treadmill on sea days, but then on port days, I would get off and try and do longer runs so they didn't have to run as much on the sea days. And I would just go out and run. And I figured out that I could just run a really long time, could go out for hours. But the story is really crazy. I had been living on the cruise ship for about 3 months, and I had a vacation. So I actually got off the ship in Europe and took a vacation in Chamonix and ended up running around Mont-Blanc in 4 days. Not really knowing what I was doing, but just kind of having fun and doing it. And so when I came back to Pennsylvania, I was in really good shape, and my old track coach, who was assistant coach of the cross-country team, pulled me aside and said,
I know about this race called the JFK 50 miler. Why don't you try that one? I know it's coming up, and it's local. It's only an hour and a half, 2 hours away from here. I said, this would be the perfect race for you.
It's like the oldest and biggest 50-mile race in the country. And he pulls it up on his phone and he shows it to me. And I had no clue there was any 50-mile race in Maryland.
So Zach entered the race, and Rob Carr was in that race, and history tells us that he left Rob Carr at 42 miles, ended up with a great final stretch, running the last mile of that 50 miler under 6 minutes. And I think it changed his entire life.
I mean, the last 8 miles, I couldn't see anybody behind me, so I was just kind of running on adrenaline.
So what did that last 50 meters feel like?
That felt amazing. Nothing matters at that point. My main goal is to give it just my very best. All you have is this year, so you might as well make it the best you've got.
The Ultra-Trail du Mont-Blanc is a 171 kilometer foot race that starts and ends in Chamonix
and we circumnavigate Mont Blanc, and it's annually one of the most competitive trail races out there.
Winning UTMB is something that no American male has ever done. One day it will probably happen, but it will only happen once. And then you could go on and on with a million other reasons of why I'd want to do UTMB, from the scenery to the fans to the atmosphere. After leading for quite a bit of the race, there's something in me that wants to go back and give it another go and try and, I guess you could say, get redemption. I feel like I have unfinished business. I just want that shot at the win, just like anybody else. It's anybody's game on race day. I just want to have my chips on the table.
When Zach arrived at the Contamines, he says that he has lost like 7 minutes. He was in the front, so he arrived a little bit nervous, but he started eating good, and he takes all the material that he needs to take. And now we're waiting here at Courmayeur.
Good job, Zach. Good job, man.
Come, easy. How are you?
I've been better. Going through the aid station Courmayeur, I'd say I wasn't in the best mental space. I was, probably a bit beat up from running the steep downhill. I was probably a bit tired. I was still kind of mentally distraught from making the wrong turn and not catching up to the lead group. I wasn't where I wanted to be in the race, and I was just really preoccupied with how far ahead were the leaders and how far behind am I. Because I like to feel like I'm in it fighting for the win, and I just didn't really necessarily feel like that, even though it was still very early. UTMB 2017 was just special. I mean, I'm having a race I was so proud of, but not the one I hoped for. But then, you know, I look at the other side and I say, I just got to take part in what was potentially the most competitive ultra ever. And I'm pretty happy to say I was a part of it. UTMB and ultra running in general is an amazing sport because it gives us a platform for pushing our limits. It showed us how much more we can accomplish when we come together as a group and we push each other. Life in Pennsylvania, growing up there, being raised there, it was really pretty special. I grew up in Lancaster County, which is a pretty rural area, a lot of rolling farmland. I didn't really know I was going to become a trail runner or a mountain runner or an ultra runner, but I always loved when we would go and run on the trails. And just really great trails. I can do like 30, 40, probably even almost 60-mile runs in Pennsylvania on trails. The Conestoga Trail, the Mason-Dixon Trail, the Appalachian Trail, and they have rocky technical trails with steep ascents, steep descents. They're just really great training grounds that'll get you in really good shape. There's a very large Amish community, and it's a very family-oriented place. So one, with the Amish community, those families tend to grow up and live together for a long time and stay in the same places and pass down family farms. But then that culture kind of spreads to the rest of the community as well. Even if you're not Amish, it's really common that like your aunts and your uncles and your grandparents, they all live within, I don't know, a 30-mile radius. People might think it's weird or wonder how the dynamic works, but it's really, everybody just kind of lives together, I guess. I mean, sure, tourists come in to see the Amish and their lifestyle is very different, but you know, you go to a place like Central Market downtown in Lancaster and it's just a big mix of all sorts of people, you know. You might buy your vegetables from an Amish guy and go to the next stand and buy your chocolate or baked goods from somebody who's not Amish. I wouldn't trade growing up here. It's a really special place to grow up, and it's a beautiful place to run. These are the mountains I grew up in here in Pennsylvania. This was only about 2 hours north of where I lived in Lancaster. Mount Nittany. We come up here for years to go hunting. Man, I just fell in love with it. East Coast running is like a type of running that you always have to be engaged. You can't just zone out. You always have to be thinking about where to put your feet, and it's not just a bunch of groomers. I wasn't born in the US, I was born in Kenya. I tell people that and then they're like, oh, that's why you're such a good runner. I don't know if it has much to do with it or not. But my parents were missionaries. They served in the mission field for about 10 years. I wasn't naturally good at everything. When I was really little in Kenya, I was trying to paint a picture. My mom tells this story, and I would be on my chair or whatever, and then I would drop my paintbrush and it would go on the floor. I'd start to cry or something, and she'd tell me, well, no, Zachary, just pick it up and keep painting. So like I'd pick it up, I'd get up, I'd start to paint, and then I'd drop it again. And over again, I kept dropping it, and she kept making me pick it up. And so we joke now that like in races and things, I can never quit because of my mom. Like she's the fault for my driven nature.
Oh boy, now if he's not gonna grow up to be a good helper there.
Yeah, it's just the way he worked. He had to get it all right. He had to get the A, he had to get the 100%. He was an overachiever, and he was a hard worker. Always, always, always a hard worker.
He never gave up. I remember when I was teaching him how to ride a bike, he didn't want me to hang on to him too long going down the driveway. He wanted me to let go. He would always say, let go, let go. And he would fall 100 times, but he always got back up and tried again. His work ethic came from our family, because growing up, my dad, it was very important. He taught us how to work hard, and so I passed that on to Zach at a very young age. He was a very determined person.
Someone's banana bread.
Oh, wow.
As an added bonus.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
The Zach I know is someone who is always going above and beyond. He was the one growing up who kept us up late at night helping him finish his extra credit when he already had an A+ in the class. And that continues to show in his running and the ways that he won't take a day off and trains every single day for long hours.
Yeah, we can. I can. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for this day that you've blessed us with. Thanks for all the hikers that were able to come up and visit.
Said about Bailey's birthday, and she went to our camp in the morning.
Mm-hmm. We took a picture.
They were taught how to work, whether it was chores around the house. We would cut firewood and split firewood, and Zach was always a part of that.
Zachary, whose boy are you? There you go.
He's also an incredibly stingy person. He really loves to save what he has.
Where's the other one? Pop goes the weasel. Okay.
He was unique. He was really, really unique, even as a baby.
Zachary, what are you doing?
Always thoughtful, always thinking.
What are you doing?
As a person of faith, I can't help but think that there are a million different things God could have had me do with my life. But I think He wants me to do far more than just run races and try to win races. I think it's more about interacting with the people and having an influence on maybe the younger generations, and just doing something very, very positive with the gift that I've been given.
To follow him around and to see how he handles himself. I mean, walking down the street, being stopped every 5-10 minutes, every couple hundred feet, somebody wants to take his picture. He's just very humble, and he'll do whatever. Just very proud. It's hard to believe that that is our son.
Yeah, I'm competitive and I love winning races, but if I'm only winning races, then I'm wasting the gift. So as I run and I pursue my running career, sure, I'm gonna try to win races, and I'm gonna try to get better, and I'm gonna try and be a better runner and a better athlete. But I'm also gonna try and interact with people and meet people and, you know, maybe speak in schools and talk to kids and encourage people to be active and find a better version of themselves. And just, as cheesy as it sounds, I guess inspire people to get out and live their lives. Really kind of changed my life, and since then I've been all over the world. I raced in all sorts of different countries. I've won all sorts of different races, and I don't always win. Sometimes I've had races in other countries where I've gone out really hard, I've chased the win, I've gotten really close to the finish, and then it fell apart. You know, but some of those races I was actually also very proud of.
Okay, now you can go again.
Okay, go ahead. Put it in high gear.
Oh, as fast as you can.
How fast can you go, Zach?
this is where my day kind of changed. Xavier caught me and he got out of 8 ahead of me, but then we regrouped on the climb and the two of us ran all the way to La Folie together. And that was where I felt I made a big mistake. Everybody was like really excited and cheering and yelling, and I got caught up in it. Then before I knew it, Xavier was right behind me again, and that kind of woke me up again. And as soon as he came up, we went back to like a one-step dance, both of us trying to one-step the other a little bit, and it just got competitive. It felt like we were racing. For some reason, I got it in my head that I should try to break Xavier on the way to Champay. And I pushed really hard on the climb. And unfortunately, Xavier was really strong and he did not break, and I ended up breaking myself. Prefontaine-like was just a boatload of hurt. It was really kind of bizarre and strange. It was different than anything I've had before in an ultra. I mean, I've had some aid stations where I'm pretty wrecked and I'm pretty tired and sore and, you know, not wanting to eat, but this experience was different. There were just so many things going on. My legs felt like they were shot. My stomach didn't like anything except for hot water. My body was cold. I felt like I was sick. Not just like, and I don't mean like a sick stomach, I mean like I actually felt sick. Like I just wanted to crawl in a warm bed and go to sleep. And it was really hard. You know, the thought of leaving the aid station and continuing on was not very enticing, but at the same point, I wasn't sitting there thinking, "Oh, I'm gonna drop out," or I need to drop. This is too bad. You know, I was probably more thinking like, "Man, I'm messed up and I need to turn this around," but I'm not sure how it's gonna happen. You know, I guess it's how the game goes sometimes, and you have to learn to manage not only the good times but also the bad times. And you know, that's what makes a 100-mile race a 100-mile race. I didn't quite conquer it. You know, I didn't even finish this year, but I saw so many things go right that really motivates me to come back and try again, because all of a sudden it's kind of changed from like, oh, I want to win this race, but this race always destroys me, to like, I feel like I'm starting to get it. Like, I'm starting to figure it out. Like, I'm not quite there yet, but I'm on track. Like, I'm putting together that puzzle with a million pieces, and it's, oh, boom, I got the frame together, you know? And I filled in most of this corner and this corner, and like, now I just need to play with these pieces over here, and it's just like, this is actually attainable now. It just makes me want to keep coming back, and in hopes that one day I can just have that race from start to finish where it's just like, I nailed it, you know.
Zach is unique because his appearance is so unassuming and he comes across as being so humble, which he is. But then you see moments where he's just turning himself inside out, and to think that, you know, a person has that inside of them is just really inspiring.
He's not afraid to do something really aggressive in a race. He's got a lot of grit. He's willing to work really hard to accomplish his goals. When you talk to Zach, you get this idea that he knows what he can do, and he keeps it real. You know, he's genuine in that sense.
Zach's racing style is pretty incredible to watch. It's something that when it goes correctly for him, he's going to have a spectacular result, but also at the expense of sometimes it doesn't pan out, and is something as a friend and a spectator exciting to watch and heartbreaking if it doesn't happen.
A lot of us have a perception of what our limits are. When I race, I guess I try to throw those out the window. It's not that I don't have limits. It's just maybe that I perceive them differently. I just don't really know where they are, and I think that's one of the most beautiful things about racing. So many times I think we step to a race line with this idea of what we're capable of doing. But sometimes I think we're capable of a lot more than what we think. If you can step to a race line or a circumstance in life and say, I'm not afraid of the failure, I'm just going to go for it. And I may not succeed, but I'm just willing to try. That's a really freeing and really fun thing.
And it still is to this day. The most prestigious award is the Kennedy Cup.
I see my running as something that's tied very closely to my purpose. And my purpose may evolve. It might change entirely, you know. We can't take anything for granted. I could wake up tomorrow and not be able to run. I don't go to races guaranteeing myself anything. I don't even really go to races knowing what I'm capable of doing. I more just show up to races willing to try something I'm not sure I'm able to do. And sometimes it blows up in my face and I don't get it. And other times I do something that dumbfounds even myself. It's been a mixed bag over the years, but I'll tell you one thing, the days where you take the risk and you get an outcome that you weren't sure was possible, or an outcome that you stand on the other side of the finish line and just shake your head and say, I don't know how I just did that. That's a pretty great moment. And then you go home and dream about what's the next wall you can get over, what's the next big thing you can do that yesterday you thought was impossible. That felt harder than the first time I did it.
bottle.
There's your pee bottle right there.
Where?
Right there.
I can't. Oh, okay. You want some grape juice?
And time to cut right about now.